followed by the pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for the ability that we have to get here this evening together ourselves. Lord, on this day, Veterans Day, take a moment and we thank all the veterans that went before us, the ones that are currently serving and the ones that will serve, Lord. They continue to protect our rights to govern ourselves for this country. So, Lord, please be with them and bless them and their families. We bless this city commission tonight. Those things we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I'm leaving.
Why did you think anything?
Hey, what's the breach?
The breach, sir, is the tie that our city manager has on.
No fear!
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Once again, you can always count on our legal team to come through. Thank you.
Take that, city manager.
It's going to be hard to read that. Good job. First on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes from our meeting on October the 28th. They've been distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? I think we've offended someone.
I don't blame your wife.
You wonder why they're hanging out, right?
We need a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. This motion carried unanimously. Ordinance 21-41.
Yes, sir. Ordinance 21-41, an ordinance of the City of Winter Garden, Florida, approving a third amendment to the City of Winter Garden Development Order for Winter Garden Village at Fowler Groves, consisting of 174.8 plus minus acres of land generally located north of the Western Beltway and east of County Road 535, approving an amendment to the Transportation Improvements Agreement, approving an amendment to Ordinance 12-54. Said amendments delete the requirement for Advent Health's construction of a 10-foot wide bike path sidewalk on the north side of Stony Brook West Parkway from County Road 545 to Daniels Road, providing for severability, recording, and an effective date.
Thank you.
This ordinance is a third amendment to the Winter Garden Village and Fowler Grove Development Order, and it deletes the requirement for Advent Health to build a 10-foot wide bike path along Stony Brook West Parkway. Staff would recommend approval of ordinance 21-41. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Questions from the commission?
Why do they want to not build this now?
The second reading, there will be a donation agreement where they will be providing a donation to Tucker Ranch.
Let me elaborate further. One, the county has it in their budget. The county is actually building the bike trail where this was gonna go, so the bike trail will be built by Orange County. It was always planned that way, and they put it in their budget. And Advent Health is gonna take that and the other funds, that some they've already given us, the 1.3 million, we're gonna ask them for another 200,000 later to contribute all those funds in the Tucker Ranch for the construction of the park.
I think we need to follow up with Commissioner Wilson of the county. Do we have anybody in a loud, obnoxious jacket that can do that? No.
Well, if I may, it's actually in their budget plan. It's been so.
The jacket or the?
No, the bike plan is in their plan. It's been budgeted to be constructed.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for your answer.
So we're really getting most of both worlds.
Yes, we're getting both.
Yeah. Any other questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. We will open the public hearing if anyone wishes to speak. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 21-41.
Do we have with a second reading and public hearing on December 9th?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a second? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. 21-39.
Yes, sir. Ordinance 21-39, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Winter Garden, Florida, amending Chapter 34, Emergency Services, to add Article Roman numeral 3, Emergency Medical Response, naming the fire department as the primary and sole provider of emergency medical response and ground transport and standby services, authorizing the city commission to adopt by resolution fees for emergency medical response, standby and ground transport services, providing for codification, conflicts, and severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Chief, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners, and Mike. We're very happy to be here this evening for the second reading, and the fire department staff recommends that the commission approve ordinance 2139, authorizing and naming the Winter Garden Fire Rescue Department as the primary and sole provider of emergency medical response, ground transport, and standby services for the city of Winter Garden.
Any questions from the commission? This is a public hearing. We will open the public hearing if anyone wishes to speak.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Mike. It's good to be in front of you again tonight. Matt McGrew, 13101 Lake Butler Boulevard, former fire chief. First and foremost, I really was happy to be here tonight to personally say thank you to Mike for trusting me with the fire department for 14 years. And thank you for everything you did for me personally, professionally, and for the citizens of Winter Garden. Secondly, one thing I loved about working for Mike in the city of Winter Garden is that we just get things done. And you mentioned out in the lobby, the planning and vision that goes into the city. And I was fortunate to be a part of that vision. And sometimes I think it's good to relive that history and kind of for some of the people that don't know the history of how we got to this point tonight, to this resolution and this ordinance. But as you mentioned, the lobby, the previous city manager, Hollis Holden, and followed up by Mike, and the previous mayor, Jack Quisenberry, followed up by you, Mayor. We're very, very visionary in saying that we want to make this city what it is today, and then we want to put a lot of effort into making the fire department and the police departments, more professional, more modern, and enhancing them. And that goes back to when I was hired in 2006 by Chief Williamson at the time. And when I walked in the door, and Frank will probably remember this, my test to be hired by the city of Winter Garden was to provide a written budget and training plan and mechanism to get to this point tonight. It was to how, because when I walked in the door in 2006, we had 2 EMTs on staff, or 2 paramedics on staff, I'd say, so we couldn't even provide the paramedic services, because we didn't have a state license. So that plan was to how are we going to get to the point where we can train, bring on, and then staff units to basically get where we are today. The thing we all had in common in 2006, we wanted to be able to do it with transport capable units, not just put a paramedic on a fire truck or on a pickup truck. And so when I walked in the door, they handed me $200,000 to build a state-of-the-art transport capable ambulance in 2006. And we bought a used ambulance from Winter Park Fire Department for $20,000 and fixed it up. So from that day, we've been getting ready for this day today. We always had the ability to put something in the back where you can transport it if one of the ambulance services didn't show up. And then it took me 1 year, 2007, we petitioned the state, we got our advanced life support license. Not advanced life support non-transport, it was advanced life support transport. And so we've had the ability, and we've been inspected by the state ever since 2007. I think it was December 2007 we got our license. And then by 2011, we had trained enough of our staff where we have paramedics on every rolling vehicle in the city of Winter Garden. So when that fire truck shows up at your house and you're at that chest pain, let them in the door, because they have everything they need to take care of you. And then the biggest thing that got us to this point was that Orlando Health bought Health Central Hospital between 2011 and 2012. They disbanded probably one of the best ambulance services I've ever seen in the country, unfortunately. And it put us in a situation, remember, Mike, where we had to scramble. And so for 10 years now, we've been kind of second fiddle with an ambulance company that hasn't always been the best. And so I just want the commission to know how important this is to the citizens and the city of Winter Garden. And Mayor, I'd say this is right up there in that list you and your wife have of things that we needed to do in the city of Winter Garden. And unfortunately, there's one thing, I couldn't get to the finish line. In my tenure, Laura Zalonka and I had it on the front burner before COVID happened, and then COVID happened. Obviously, we kind of had to sit back and get through COVID. But people like Chief Guyanza, the staff, the union, the membership, you know, the people that have supported this, training in the office, and then basically Mike Bollhoefer, Frank Gilbert, Laura Zalonka, and then all the commissioners. So we really appreciate this and encourage you to make it happen.
We will close the public hearing, and we need a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 2139 with a second reading.
This is the second.
I'm sorry, this is the second reading, my
Yes,
fault.
that's
So I
right.
looked up there like, that's not.
That's all right. We have a motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried unanimously.
21-09, a resolution of the city of Winter Garden, Florida, adopting a schedule of rates, charges, and fees for emergency ground medical transport and related services provided by the city, providing for automatic annual adjustments and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Chief?
Good evening again, Mayor, Commissioners, and Mike. Tonight, we're seeking your approval to move forward with adopting scheduled rates, fees, and charges for emergency medical services ground transport. Fire department staff has researched and compared proposed fees to other departments, and we recommend the commission approve resolution 2109.
Questions from the commission? Hearing none, we need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution 2109, do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried unanimously.
As of last week, there were 2 vacant positions on the CRA Advisory Board. We had a meeting this past Tuesday night, and in that meeting, one of the members, Daniel Starks, announced that he would need to resign from the board because he's taken another job and moving out of the community. So that meant that there were 3 vacant positions on the CRA Advisory Board. So, the CRA Advisory Board discussed it, they felt moving forward, it was really important that there was representation from East Winter Garden, because we're gonna be spending as the city and the CRA a lot of time in that community. So, they made a recommendation to nominate, 3 people that reside, own property, or work in East Winter Garden, for the CRA Advisory Board, and I'll let Larry talk about, who those nominees were. I will mention that 2 of them are in the audience, they were very excited. Chloe Johnson is here, and Jamie Hawley. And Mayor, I don't know if you remember, but we saw both of them last night at the Habitat
Yes.
event. So
And the third name?
the 3rd name is Cherie Willard Hodge.
Important phase that, pending the extension of our CRA from 30 years to 40 years by the county commission, we will have the opportunity to fund improvements to East Winter Garden, and that's the next major project of the CRA. That, we felt that the CRA Advisory Board had lengthy discussions about who best to fill these 3 open positions. There were, as I recall, 31 applicants that had filled out interest forms. We looked at all of those, and we gave preference to people who lived in East Winter Garden, thinking that the input from them during this stage of development of the East Winter Garden plan would be very critical. So I would recommend tonight and move that the CRA approve, I don't remember all of the names, I'm sorry, I don't have it written.
Jamie Hawley, Chloe Johnson, and Cherie Hodge.
To fill the 3 open positions on the CRA Advisory Board. I would move that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. For those 3, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Just as District 3 Commissioner, they have my full support. I think they work well together and everything. I'll just echo everything Larry and Tommy said. It's fantastic. Thank you. And thanks for your service.
outstanding things with this move forward.
And we feel very comfortable with the county. We've had a lot of great responses from them. We feel very comfortable. We think they're gonna support this. It's a great project. I think we're gonna witness, this is gonna be the beginning of the very first year of significant change. Whenever you look at a project, I think I said this before, you always want to think, what is it gonna look like when we're successful? And when you're successful 20 years from now, you'll look at East Winter Garden, it'll be redeveloped. But not only will it be redeveloped, it'll be the same people there. The businesses will be run by the people that were always there. The houses will be owned by the people that were always there. I will tell you, in redevelopment, that's rare. It rarely ever happens anywhere, because most places, when they redevelop, it's not really redevelopment. It's really where they gentrify a community, and this is not gonna happen. I know that the people that are up for appointment tonight, they're energized. I think they will bring a vitality, they will bring a dynamic to this committee that is just gonna be really a real blessing to the city and to the community going forward. And I just add my strong emphasis that this is a great opportunity for Winter Garden and East Winter Garden, which, as they're, I think, both members of one Winter Garden, East Winter Garden is just a part of a greater whole. So I would just like to add that.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Woo! Thank you all for your service.
Commissioners, this is a request by staff to waive the formal procurement process. Back in December of 2019, the city of Duke Energy entered into a memorandum of understanding, which provided for payment in the amount of $30,000 to have the fence along South Park Avenue replaced with the rebuilding of the 69 kV transmission main. The project was to be completed in 2020, November 2020. But there were multiple delays. And with that project is now complete, a year later, we find ourselves trying to have a fence installed along there with major supply chain issues, leading to a shortage of materials and significant inflation. After obtaining 3 quotes with a limited time frame for guaranteed pricing for fencing, along the aforementioned supply chain issues and request for additional funding was asked of Duke. They did provide another $30,000 that was approved. Since obtaining the original quotes, we have seen prices increase again from 12 to 30%. Given the limited window for guaranteed pricing, review of the original revised quotes, staff has determined that All Right Fencing Services, Inc. has provided the lowest quote for the project, which will only provide a guarantee in pricing until November 12th. So staff would recommend waive the formal procurement process and authorize a purchase order to All Right Fence Services, Inc. for the installation of a 6-foot-high industrial aluminum fence along South Park Avenue in the amount of $104,745. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
If I may interject, when he says industrial fence, this is decorative fence, it's just industrial strength, so it lasts long. It's a beautiful fence, but it's just very heavy duty, so it lasts. And this will be followed up as part of our plan, is we're getting ready to landscape this all with trees and shrubbery, as we stated a long time ago. Once this is finished, we're very confident that all along Park Avenue, this is gonna look a lot better than it was before. We had all those trees that every 2 or 3 years, they would come through and cut half of them off. The property owners are excited about this. It's a good looking fence, and when it's all done, Park Avenue is gonna look beautiful along there. That's why I wanted to add that, because when it says industrial, it makes everyone nervous.
Yeah,
It's industrial strength decorative fence.
Sorry. Well, the question is, from the original quote, Duke has put in $30,000 more dollars. From the original quote to this $104,000, does that $30,000 covered, or are we kicking in how much?
We're kicking in approximately 40, because, yeah, they're gonna pay a total of 60, and we're covering the rest.
Okay, that's what, okay.
And they didn't, we had the contract, so they
Right.
did that voluntarily,
Right.
so I think.
And I agree with that. I was just trying to understand the difference in, between the price increase and what they're putting in their additional 30. Okay? Any other questions from the commission?
Is Duke providing the, we talked about it before, is Duke providing the landscaping?
Excuse me?
Are they providing?
They provided some funding for the landscaping, we're pitching in some funding for the landscaping. It's just getting our staff to plan it and then trying to, with all the, labor shortages, getting it done.
So we'll own the planning of it, so we get it to look right, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
We're doing,
that's
it's
the
all
answer.
under our control and
That's-
Laura Core will be in charge of the
That's-
landscaping.
We're in great shape.
We're in good shape, and that's why it costs them more,
Yeah.
but it'll look good.
It's needed, yeah.
So
And
that's-
Mr. Monahan, great documentation putting all together, explaining why we need to push this through. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? We need a motion.
Make a motion to waive the formal procurement process and authorize the purchase order to All Right Fence Services for the amount of $4,745.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Next, sir, approve Garden Commerce Parkway Road extension.
This is an agreement for the city to extend Garden Commerce Parkway from its current location, where we actually extended that portion as well, on the north side of the property at 12565 West Colonial Drive, all the way down to connection on West Colonial Drive. Like I said, we've already done that on the north side, so this is a similar agreement, and it will pay for the construction of the road, so we're guaranteed that north-south connector. That will help with all of the industrial development in there, so that it will help disperse less onto Story and get down to Colonial Drive, so everything doesn't go to 9th and Carter Road, so it distributes better. The owner will be required to get bids for the road. It's currently a purchaser who's under contract to buy it, but when he purchases it, he will be required to get bids. He's required to go through construction plan review, preliminary plat, final plat. All of the roadway will be dedicated to us free of charge through that platting process. And those bids will be provided to us. We would bring it back in front of the board for the board to approve the actual cost of construction. But we want to enter into this agreement to let him know that we would do the same thing we did on the northern portion. Staff would recommend approval of this ordinance, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
On Highway 50, is you gonna end up with a red light there or a right turn on?
Right turn on.
And the idea being on that is, when you do road systems, more northwest, or north-south, east-west roads you had, it relieves pressure off your main roads. I think we've seen the failure out in the southwest part of, this area where they have not done that. So every chance we get, we want to link with as many optional roads and to take the, pressure off the main roads. And the contractor's doing this because we asked the contractor to do this, because we think it's better for the city.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the Garden Commerce Parkway Road Extension Agreement for the property at 12565 West Colonial Drive.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Recommendation approved purchase agreement for two homes located at 143 10th Street. Yes, sir.
As you said, Mayor, this is a purchase agreement to purchase the property and two homes located at 143 10th Street. This property is located at the intersection of Center Street and 10th Street, which is the heart of that East Winter Garden area, where we are working with all this redevelopment. Purchase will give us the ability to facilitate the quality development we want to see there. And it will help correct outstanding code enforcement issues we have on these properties. So staff would recommend approving the city manager to sign a contract to purchase this property at 143 10th Street for $350,000.
Okay. Questions from the commission?
Will it make that corner quieter?
Yes.
On the spot, hang out,
Yes.
hang out, will no longer be.
Oh, Lord.
Just a comment, everybody knows, if you're not familiar, this is the area we're trying to improve, and this is definitely a step in the right direction for this garden, for our redevelopment.
Was that followed up with a motion, Commissioner?
I will. Make a motion, we approve the purchase agreement for two homes located at 143 10th Street, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract for purchase. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, sir. To approve memorandum of understanding between the city of Winter Garden and Healthy West Orange. Yes, ma'am.
So, the city manager and staff have been in discussions concept is about as people age and get older, that you continue to provide enrichment programs for them. That could be the arts, it could be anything that allows them to follow their passion. And it's supposed to add to your quality of life, and they're doing it a lot with Alzheimer's patients and assisted living. And so the West Orange Healthcare District just recently provided a $17 million grant to Healthy West Orange to study this concept and see if it makes sense for our community and for the West Orange community. They have asked the city for permission to look at a site that we own, just to study, do their due diligence to see if it makes sense. And so I want to show you that. So the site is on East Plant Street. It's actually right by the area there where the West Orange Trail curves and goes north by the library. And they will look at all the different literature, all the different concepts and facets of a creative aging campus. They want to work with different people in the community. I know that they want to talk to the arts, SOVO, the Winter Garden Arts Association, and the Garden Theater and whatnot about programming. And so the Memorandum of Understanding that you have in your packet is to give them permission for 1 year to look at the feasibility, to bring in experts, to do their due diligence, and then at that time they would come back and we would decide if that was something that the city wanted to do or not. Obviously, if the city were to talk about that, there would have to be community meetings, there would have to be master planning, and a lot of things would have to occur. But right now, this is just for permission for them to do their due diligence. Thank you.
Questions from the commission? I certainly have no problem with them looking, but if we vote to approve it, and I don't want that taken as before, the project or anything else, because obviously we don't know enough yet to.
And it clearly states that in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it does, and, because there is gonna be a lot of time and expense in it from their part, but, okay. Any other questions from the commission? Do we need a motion?
Make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the city of Winter Garden and Healthy West Orange for a creative aging campus.
Do we have a second?
Mark did.
We have a second. Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Agreement with Red Top Productions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. So Red Top Productions is an event management company. They specialize in farmers markets, and they have been managing the city's farmers market since 2011. That was the time when it was a transition from when the merchants they were putting on the farmers market, and then the city took that over. Red Top was running the Orlando Farmers Market at the time, and we met with them and thought they would do a good job for us, and they've been managing the market ever since then. City staff is recommending the attached agreement, so that we do not have any disruption in the market, and also because they've done a really good job for us. So the license agreement that's in your packet is for a 3-year period with 2 one-year renewals.
But which could be canceled at any time.
30 days.
30 days.
notice.
Yep. Okay. Questions from the commission? Sure can't argue with the success of it. The job's been done.
Just one comment, I know there's been some individuals who have wanted to participate in farmers market, and the list is very long to get on there. Some folks have felt that other folks didn't show up, but they never seem to move up the list, so just be more sensitive to that going forward. So, but I think you've done an amazing job.
We need a motion.
A motion to approve the license agreement with Red Top Productions, 3 years with a 30-day notice of cancellation.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, unanimous. Yes.
There are currently 2 vacancies on the Code Enforcement Board, and all members' terms have expired. The city code requires that 7 members of the board, that there are 7 members of the board, and there are no district requirements as far as it being distributed. The 5 existing members would all like to be reappointed and have requested that. Staff would recommend reappointing David Buckles, Jack Literal, Denise Ratton, Marvin Vasquez, and Bruce Wiloshin. And we would also recommend appointing 2 new members to serve on the Code Enforcement Board. Be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I'll start first. So, 2 things. I was hoping before we kind of jumped into this that I would provide some documentation saying to get really a big picture of all our boards, who serves on them, what their term was, and what district they live in. And the process for that, while some boards do require residency requirements in certain districts, other ones don't. But at the end of the day, I'm still looking for an even distribution model, so that, essentially any board that exists, really, the consistency of the board is represented by people from all the districts, so we have that. And, that hasn't been given back yet. I would like to see if maybe, unless there's an urgent need, if we could move this to the next time.
Correct, we would need to have a quorum. Sometimes we struggle with not getting a quorum with only 5 members. If 2 of those people can't make a meeting, we would have no quorum.
So are we in danger between now and the next meeting of not doing that?
The next meeting is the first Tuesday in December.
And if I may interject, you're not in danger because the current board members will, still serve but at this point, I'd just like to interject this, I know Commissioner Sharma is familiar with this. The reasoning why you have, district requirements in some boards and not the others is because it used to be that none of the boards had district requirements. And with the P&Z board, because these decisions affected people from each district, what was being built there, and we changed that. As far as the code board, we did not feel it was significant. It didn't really seem critical, because the most important thing on the code board, because it's quasi-judicial, and what they're doing is judicial decisions, is having people up there that were reasonable and fair. So what district they came from really was not critical. What was most important is to have good people up there, because they're really serving as a judge on these cases, and that's why the city never went to district requirements for code.
Oh, no, and I understand that, and I think that that's good reasoning, but nonetheless, it's still always welcome the opportunity to hear some voices from each of our 4 major districts. But, so it's really, I've got some candidates, because we're not representing District 2, so I've got some candidates. If you want to delay, it's great. If not, I can nominate folks for this, so. Pleasure.
That's pleasure of this commission.
Move forward tonight, or have one more?
His first recommendation was to reappoint the existing 5 members.
Right, that was the first one, and then, looking at this, we have no one from District 2 on the code.
Yeah, there's a vacancy, and Mr. Sykes is from my district.
Well, there's a vacant, and Johnny Clark does want to be on the code enforcement reappointed. So we have 2 openings on the code enforcement.
So you're okay with putting the 5 back on, the one to be on, Commissioner?
Yeah, that's, well, I mean.
move that we do that.
We'll get a motion to get that out of the way first. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried unanimously. Now, what's your pleasure on the next 2?
I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and, for code enforcement, I'll go ahead and do nominations, but I'd still like to refrain on planning and zoning if possible. So, my first nomination for District 2 is Rita De Siguera. Ms. De Siguera is an attorney, earning her Juris Doctorate from Nova Southeastern University, and has practiced law for several decades. She served as Senior Vice President of SunTrust Bank, as part of the legal department, leading Human Resources University. Prior to Ms. Isagira's tenure at SunTrust, she was part of the corporate legal team at GE and White & Case, an international law firm. Mrs. Vera most recently served on the Architectural Review Board as part of her neighborhood's HOA. She is familiar with state and local ordinances and has a deep understanding of quasi-judicial boards and their obligations. Prior to moving to Winter Garden, Mrs. Siguera resided in Atlanta with her husband and 2 children. She served on the Atlanta City Fire and Rescue Foundation and the Year Up Board with the mission to close the opportunity divide by ensuring young adults gain skills, experiences, and support that will empower them to reach their potentials through career and higher education. Before her move to Atlanta, Mrs. Siguera lived in Chicago, where she served on the El Valor Board, whose mission was to support children, people with disabilities, and their families to achieve excellence and participation in life. Mrs. Siguera is a U.S. citizen who escaped Cuba during the early years of the Castro regime. She remains fluent in Spanish, helping with our growth and diverse population. I would nominate Ms. Rita De Siguera to the Code Enforcement Board as a district representative.
Okay. Is that a motion?
That is a motion for Mrs. Siguera.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second. Do we have any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So we need one more.
I will make a nomination.
Does anybody else have one?
I'm gonna say if we have, districts 2, 3, or 4. I don't think we've got.
One's
One that we've got.
What
They're not.
pretty good.
So we need one from either 2, 3, or 4.
We got somebody from,
We had somebody actually from one, but that, from a staff perspective that we know, it's a gentleman named Adrian. Should be?
No.
And, this is a gentleman that you have a great opportunity here because he actually served as a code enforcement officer for 2 years. He actually runs a construction company. He's the one that built, him and his brother, built that new headquarters over there behind the Winter Garden, restaurant. He's also a person of a very fair and reasonable. I can tell you how we hired this gentleman. I came into work one day and I walked downstairs and there was this gentleman sitting there and I spoke to him. He was so polite and so professional, and I think, Steve, you remember this. I walked upstairs, I hadn't seen his resume, I hadn't seen anything about him. I said, you know what, guys, you need to hire that person because he has the perfect temperament. And they hired him, he did a great job. Went to work for his brother though, because he was making a whole lot of money doing construction during these times. And from a staff's perspective, you really have a great opportunity on the code enforcement board with that gentleman.
I'll tell you one thing, he built one of the nicest buildings.
He did,
in
they are
Winter Garden.
very responsible, built a great building, and great personality.
so I don't need to appoint anybody for District 3. We've got my appointments on this Architectural Review Board. Mike and I have talked extensively about that. I think this gentleman did a great job. Obviously, East Winter Garden is going to be a focus here in the next couple of years, so we need somebody good, and I think this gentleman fits well. I don't have any other nomination. I've asked several times to try to get more people. Code enforcement is a tough board to get people on. You know what, we provided the opportunities to a lot of East Winter Garden folks, but they haven't actually taken. So I'm good with nominating him.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Now let's get back to it. If you wanted to throw your.
Yeah, I'll throw in Mr. Washington, because I am concerned that it puts 4 people from one district on the board, so. I'll nominate, Mr. Daniel Welsh. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right, you throw the name out, we're gonna have to have a vote on this.
Okay,
first.
oh, you're good, okay.
But I said, when do you want to throw one?
Mr. Welsh.
You want to throw
He's
Mr.
on our
Welch?
record.
Okay. Well, we have a motion, we have a second, on the mark, so all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion would carry 4 to 1.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, continuing on, sir, P and Z.
There are 3 members on the planning and zoning board that are up for reappointment, and there's 1 open seat. The code requires 7 members on this board, with at least 1 member from each district, and no more than 2 members from a single district. The 3 members who have those expired terms would all like to be reappointed. They are Will Hawthorne, who lives in District 1, Gabe Koch, who is in District 3, and Christopher Lee, who lives in District 2. Staff would recommend reappointment of these 3 members and appointment of 1 new member. The other 3 members' terms don't expire until next year.
Discussion from the commission.
This was the thing that was important that I thought, as far as planning and zoning board having a lot of experience, which we did pass an ordinance for, and I would be in favor of keeping existing members, and then bringing in one new.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, this is the one I would have preferred that we move to next meeting.
It was pretty spread out. We've got
Yeah,
right
it
now,
is.
1 and 1, 2 and 2, 2 and 3, and 1 and 4.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, it's pretty, really, it's following the ordinance pretty well here. We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
All right, now how's the map spread out when we're done with that?
Now, you can have another one in District 1 or District 4.
So, yes, if we could going forward, and I think I sent you your email, an example sheet, we could put that together.
It would be, yeah, it would be nice for all of you. What is that for, is just each board, when their term, who's on it, when the term expires, and what district they're in. I think that's for
So there's a lot of boards, and I've only got a few of them under.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to provide those boards to you.
Yeah, that's right.
And we'll get you the rest.
Then there's architecture review and the pension, I guess.
Architecture review doesn't have any district requirements. It's
No,
got
it doesn't.
No, but we still want to know.
That's what, I think that's what he's asking.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have anyone on the P and Z for, either District 1 or District 4?
Well, Lisa, I was looking through my application, I haven't had anybody call me, and there was only one person that even kind of jumped out that would be qualified, so if you had someone in your district that's reached out.
I had several people that I recommended, but Eliana wasn't in my district, she was in two. But Dennis Robinson did reach out, I didn't know if you had someone.
I move that we put Dennis Robinson, what's his name?
Dennis Robinson.
Robinson on the board.
You started out like you knew it.
What's the name?
Yeah, I don't know what's his name well. That was good.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Should have stuck with Dennis as the motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Matters of citizens of Winter Garden. Matters from our well-dressed city attorney.
Mayor, you're so accurate in your description, I appreciate that very much.
I can't look directly at him, though, my
Well,
eyes
hey,
are.
you still go blind. Just one thing, I gotta say, it's been a phenomenal time here with that guy next to you. Used to get calls all the time, it didn't really matter, he calmed down a little bit, quit calling, after 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But it's been a great pleasure to work with you, Mike. It's not over yet, you don't really realize that. You think you escaped the humidity and the heat and the traffic, well, you'll have some flashbacks, put it that way. It's been a great time, really have appreciated it. It's hard to say how many great things there are to say about you, but, so I won't say them. And it's just too many, so anyway, it's been a pleasure.
Same here.
Anything else? Okay. City manager.
Yes, I thought since it's my last meeting, I would do a presentation. So we have a 100-slide presentation on PowerPoint.
Thank you, city manager.
And I only have one slide, so I thought I'd leave you with this.
You did get it right in the end. Mike.
Yes, I got it right. I might have worn a Seminole tie, but I ended up with a gator. And
All right.
thank you all for doing it. It's been a wonderful 25 years, and it's going to be getting better and better, and just thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sharma.
Well, I actually told Mike I was gonna do one of two things for him, and one of them, he probably knows that I wasn't able to do. I did it when we had the grand opening of City Hall. I snuck up into his office and put Seminoles all over the screensaver. So, that was something that I told my threatened to do before he left again. And there was one other thing, I don't know if he remembers it, but it's a gift that I would like all of the staff members that have been involved in heavy negotiations to sign, so he can take a piece of you guys with him as remembrance that you worked with him through these tough times, and what a great job. I'm gonna show Mike what I got for him.
Oh, jeez.
For this, and I got a plan for you guys to come sign it, it's called the negotiator. And not only that, but I got him a case so he's got somewhere to put it, but I'll give him a box since he's moving. So I'll just show you the case and we'll put it back in the box, but this is a display case that'll have a glass top. You can hang it vertical, horizontal, or you can set it on the desk. So when he gets up there, he'll have that. And when the meeting closes, I've got some markers. I want you guys that are staff members and that's through tough negotiations to come sign it for him. He's a tough guy. You don't want to buy something from Mike that might end up in the trash. But I figured if we got everybody to sign this, he couldn't help but take it up there and share stories of his times here with you guys.
I like that it's glass and we can break in case of emergency.
Yes.
That out.
It's got hinges on it. You take it out often.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else?
That's it.
Commissioner Nation.
I think that bat is best used for developers. I would think.
Yes.
I've been on the receiving end of that as well as on the. Mike and I have already said our goodbyes. You'll be missed, Mike, truly, and I want to thank you for everything you've done for the city. Please don't be a stranger. I think we'd all like to see you around. So we'll be talking more, I'm sure. That's it. Thank you.
So you said how you affected the transit, you know, the directory of my life, like coming down here because of the city which built. So thank you seems inadequate, but it's our fault.
Commissioner Nation.
Wow, hard acts to follow. We are gonna miss you. You've had, great leadership and patience and, it's been pretty patient with me, but, I just appreciate, all your efforts.
It's been a pleasure.
I hate it.
Well, two things. First, all the staff that worked through the Heritage/Music Fest, then had to do a quick tear down and start setting up again. They went from Halloween to that, to this weekend. It's a lot of work and takes a lot of hours and keeps them away from home. But everyone of them I talked to this weekend there are happy, glad, doing a good job. But I just want to reiterate again for all y'all, please tell all your employees, it is noticed and it is appreciated from the residents of Winter Garden. I get comments all the time, and we thank you. And for Mr. Mike, I kind of shared with Kurt on that. It was fun. He'd text late at night or early in the morning, and he's a lot like me. After a text or two, forget that, let's just talk. And I've enjoyed working with Mike. He's taught me a lot. It's been fun. It's been a great experience, and counting him as a friend, and I've just enjoyed all the years. And we're going to miss him. So with that, we will adjourn.